Hey guys, Ernie here and welcome to the Paleo Hiker MD channel. Today we're going to take a look at something a little bit different and go back to the earlier years of my channel when I did a lot of prepping or preparedness. These recent floods and hurricanes have really got me thinking about making sure that our preparedness here at the house is up to snuff. Years ago I started getting our house together and ready for common emergencies or disasters. Nothing crazy. I don't have any bunkers in the backyard or anything. Nothing wrong with that, but I just don't happen to have that. Now we've moved out to this new house and I've started to think more about kind of rehashing that plan and make sure we have everything that we need. So today we're going to take a look at 5 common, just random, miscellaneous preparedness items that I've thought about over the last couple of days. Things that I think maybe a lot of people have, some things maybe people don't have, but things that I think are important. So let's take a look at them today. Thanks for watching here on Paleo Hiker MD. So first off, of course, we are all slaves to our electronic devices, and it would be really hard to not have them around. Now, in an emergency, you may not have a cellular network to use to make phone calls, but we all have a lot of information stored on our smartphones or portable devices. So a way to keep them charged is important. I use one of these portable solar panels. This is a Goal Zero, one of the original ones. I'm sure there's probably better technology out there now, but this one still works. So do these work? Well, let's hook it up and I'll show you. So I'll plug this in for you guys. There you go. As you can see, clearly charging off of our solar panels. Now, of course, these solar panels have their limitations. First of all, of course, you have to have sunlight. And you don't always have that. In certain kinds of emergencies, you wouldn't really have sunlight, such as a volcanic eruption or something like that. But normally, you would have sunlight, and you're able to keep things charged. So that brings up another important idea, is just charge cables. We all know these charge cables are very brittle at times. So in your preparedness, in your bags, in your things you keep for emergencies, keep 1 or 2 extra charging cables. That really helps make sure you have the things you need to keep your devices charged case of an emergency. So what we've got here is a twig stove or a debris stove, an easy little wood stove that you can start with any kind of twigs or anything out in your backyard. I think it's really important to be able to boil water. Most of our dehydrated meals out there, what they call for is boiled water. That's all you need. So in a pinch, if you've got dehydrated meals, really all you need is a source of water, a way to generally clean it well enough to boil it so that you can use it to make what you need. And you could see how quickly and easily this particular stove worked. You feed it little bitty things like this and it will just keep on going. Works really, really well. I've tried quite a few different stoves over the years. There are a lot of good ones. The one that we're using today is the Solo stove. I have a full video on this Solo stove. I'll put a link up there for you guys to be able to check it out. It's what I think is the design, at least, is the best type of debris stove that there is out there. It's easy to use, it's extremely effective, you can see how quickly you light it, and it'll work on almost anything that you have around the house. So another important, I think, item for being ready is a way to boil water. There's nothing easier than a small wood stove. So going back to the electronics, number 3 on my list is another piece of electronic gear, and it's this. This is just a handheld radio. This happens to be a dual band FM transceiver by ICOM. It's a nice one. It was purchased for me by my dad in his infinite generosity. He's very much into ham radio. He's into communications like that. He's got things set up at his house, really big antennas and stuff. And I'm soon going to be getting my ham radio license. I think it's important for you to be able to communicate amongst your family and amongst your friends in particular through some kind of a network. If you're looking at a situation where potentially communication will be down, you need to rely on the best communication there is. And basically ham radio is probably it. It's very easy to conceive how a lot of these towers are privately owned. They could be maintained by individuals, and you could be able to communicate throughout the country. You don't need anything near this fancy. There's some great ones on Amazon for $25, $35. It is important you realize to use certain bands you have to be licensed to do that. I'm not at this time, but the beauty of these types of radios are that you can also pick up other channels, regular radio channels, and stay in communication that way. So I think anybody who's interested in preparedness should be licensed in ham radio. I'm going to do that this year after I take my sleep exam, and I suggest everyone else do the same and get yourself a radio. Obviously, something else that's important is food. Now, food is something that we are accustomed to getting out in the grocery store. We pick things up, we do our thing. One thing we could learn very, very simply from the recent hurricanes, whether it be in Puerto Rico or in Houston or in Florida, you saw all kinds of pictures all over the internet of people showing shelves at the grocery store that are completely empty. And that's the reality of things. Now, in the short term, most grocery stores have enough food to last less than a week if they stop getting supplies, really more like a couple of days. So what can you do to be ready, especially for long term? You need to be able to grow your own food. You want something that's specific for survival. I have these from My Patriot Supply. This is the Survival Seed Vault, and I also have, because we like flavor, the Culinary Herb Vault. These things are relatively inexpensive. They're designed to sit on the shelf. I may never use them, but you know what? I have them if I need them. I have plenty of seeds. Once you start growing, you can dry and make your own seeds from the vegetables that you grow and keep these things going long term. It's also probably a good idea to practice growing. It's not as easy as you think. You need to have a place to do it. You need to have the tools and materials to do it. Very simple to do. All you need is a little bit, either some pots or a little bit of land, and you can do this. But having the seeds and these types of seed vaults is a good idea, and I think a really important prep. So I own about 10 acres, and behind me I've got probably 150 acres of woods. In an emergency situation, I certainly wouldn't have any problems trying to hunt in and around this area. And I know my neighbors, and I think that I would be able to do that without difficulty. Of course, hunting for deer and stuff is one thing, large game, but small game is very important, whether it be rabbits or squirrels or anything else that you can kill in an emergency situation. All those things can help feed your family. We're not used to eating those things a lot of times now in Louisiana. Sometimes we are, but you can either trap those things very simply with snares and stuff around here, or you can use something like this. This is nothing more than a high-powered air rifle. And you think, well, what's so good about that? Well, there's a couple of reasons that I keep one of these around. First of all, it's relatively inexpensive. You can get a nice high-powered air rifle for $100, $150 with a scope, and you will be surprised at how accurate these things can be. Second of all, the ammunition is dirt cheap. You can buy it in huge packs of thousands and thousands of these pellets. It doesn't really cost you anything. They last forever, and you can absolutely go to town having fun with them, both with your kids as far as learning to shoot, as well as with emergency situations. Lastly, something else. If you load this thing, notice something. Didn't hardly make any noise. And that's something that I think is really important. If you're out hunting things and you're shooting, you never know what those loud noises of your gun could bring. It could bring people looking for help. It could bring people bringing trouble. You just never know. In emergency situations and in situations where things are very hard to predict, I think you want to keep as low a profile as you can. These pellet guns, high-powered pellet guns, can kill just about any small game. This scope is extremely accurate, and I feel very comfortable that you can kill a lot of things for your family with one of these weapons. The other thing is there's a lot of parts of the country where getting weapons and keeping weapons is very controversial, and even some parts illegal, where a lot of times these air rifles are much easier to obtain, much easier to keep, and again, easier to stockpile more quote-unquote ammunition or pellets in this point. So I would suggest everyone get one of these, keep it at their house. I think it's fun to use for fun, and it's also a very good tool for preparedness. All right, so that is a look at 5 kind of miscellaneous preps that I think are important for you to have at home. Now I'm going to give you one little bonus prep here, and I think it's important as well. We talked about keeping your phone charged. A lot of times we have a lot of books on Kindle and things like that, but having actual books like Ray Mears Bushcraft or Bushcraft by Morris Krahansky, all of the Dave Canterbury books. Those things are very good to have because it allows you to have written copies that you can carry with you to reference in times of emergency to make sure you know what to do out in the woods, especially if you don't have a lot of experience doing it. So a little bit of a random video today. I was just looking for something to do. I've really been wanting to do more in the area of preparedness. I did a lot of that early in my channel, and I'm going to do more of that coming up next year in 2018. Taking a look more at the stuff that I have here at the house and how I pack certain foods, especially like in 5-gallon buckets and Mylar bags and stuff. Kind of show y'all my technique for doing those things. As always, I appreciate y'all tuning in here to Paleo Hiker MD. I appreciate the growth over time, continuing just a steady growth of the channel, which is exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting past my sleep board exam and having more time to do more of these videos. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any comments on the tips that I gave today, any suggestions to others out there, this is a community, and I think it's important that we're able to all sit down together, not argue about things. I think we all have different ideas. Some of the ideas that I have may be different from your ideas, but they're mine, and they're the things that I find important for me. If you have constructive criticism, if you have suggestions, whatever it might be, leave it down below. I'd love to talk to you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching Paleo Hiker MD, and look forward here on YouTube for more videos. Thanks.